Welcome to Ike's Vintage Tech. A little over a month ago, we experienced one of the worst IT outages of our time and possibly the entire time of IT. When CloudStrike pushed a security update that disabled 8.5 million Windows machines, banks, airlines, trains, all sorts of things went down, and there was even a rumor that Southwest Airlines kept running because they were running Windows 3.11. Now, it turned out to just be a rumor, as ridiculously fun as that sounds. It got me wondering, why couldn't we use Windows 3.11 today? What could we do and how far can we get running it? Let's find out. W-I-N, win. Okay, I'm going to cut that out. Or not. Welcome back. Now, obviously you can't replace everything you do on a daily basis with an old machine like this running Windows 3.11. Now, there's quite a bit of things you can replace though if you want to use an old system like this. Let's say you're doing a lot of Microsoft Office documents, Word, Excel. Now, for basic Word documents, if you're just typing up a letter or something like that, something without a lot of macros or newer fonts or anything like that, you can definitely use the older version of Microsoft Office, which I have on here. Let me open it up. And yeah, we have Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. I'm not sure how much you'd be able to use that, especially if you had a giant, 200 meg PowerPoint with all the graphical images in it. It would probably bog a system like this down. But if you have just a basic Word document, if you're working on your resume, a letter, just something real easy, you could take one of these and hook it up to your modern computer via USB and put everything that you do on a single Word document right on a floppy. They still are pretty small if you're not adding images. Now, obviously, that's one use case that kind of makes sense. A glorified word processor really doesn't need the latest and greatest processor, operating system, anything like that. But there are quite a few other things on here that I'm going to show you today that I kind of got surprised myself that there's certain things you can do on here that you have to pay a lot of money for now, with like 3D modeling and whatnot, basic 3D modeling, not talking about making STL files for 3D printing. But if you wanted to do a blueprint for an extension on your house or just a house in general, you can do that. There's software that they had back in the early 90s, mid to early 90s, or early to mid 90s, that I loved using this when I was a kid. I used to build my dream house. 3D Home Architect. It came with my dad's computer back in the day, an old Packard Bell. And with this, you can build walls of your house, connect everything together, and it self-corrects for you. Add windows, add furniture, all that stuff. Toilets, bathtubs, everything. And you could just, make a whole little room here, which is pretty cool. That is something that they can do on websites today, but you're gonna have to pay a subscription fee. This is pretty good if you want to build yourself a shed, a small addition, if you want to just plot out what your house would look like so that you can print it out. Speaking of which, LaserJet printer, these things last forever. With proper maintenance and upkeep, you can still get toner for these things that are sealed in the box. Even though the printer is just as old as the computer down here from like 95, 96, it still works great. I had to do a little bit of maintenance on it, but that works too. So something like this, you can take your project and print it out right here on a printer. It won't take too long. You're going to hear that thing winding up in a second. All right, here we go. Now, I could have also printed it, portrait instead of, or landscape instead of portrait, but that is my image right there in black and white. Now, this is just one example of what you could do today with it. One more thing you could do is if you do have PDFs you need to read, anything like that, I do have Adobe Acrobat on here. So here we have the 1990 Tandy computer catalog from Radio Shack on PDF. It's a fairly new PDF. When it was scanned, it's only a couple years old, I believe. It's like 100 meg. It is loading. Individual pages are going to load like this, so it's going to go a little slow. But not every PDF you're going to need to open is going to be this crazy. Now, if you have a modern PDF that has a lot of autofill stuff, that's not going to work clearly, because this is, Adobe Acrobat 3.0. It's not going to have everything you need for it, but basic PDFs, they will work, especially if it's something like this that's scanned, you're only dealing with images. Let's see, page down. Obviously, yeah, every page is going to load like this. So is it practical? No, of course not. None of this is, but it's possible. Let's see. Let's go to the next thing real quick here. I do have Netscape Navigator on here for all your internet needs, and that's going to take a couple seconds to load. It's not too bad. I did notice that the FrogFind logo is just a little off, but that only happens in Netscape. On Internet Explorer here, which I have on another tab, or not tab, another box, everything in Windows back then was annoyingly categorized in its own little folder on the desktop. There we go, FrogFind loads perfectly. Now, the way I got internet on here is I do have a PCI Ethernet card with the proper Windows 3.1.1 drivers. Now, on top of that, you're going to have to install TCP/IP. That wasn't a standard software package back in the day. It's easy enough to get. You can throw it onto a floppy disk and install it onto your system. Once you have that in order, you can go ahead and connect it to the internet. You're not downloading anything new, obviously, and don't keep anything on here that has your personal information, social security, none of that, because the last update for this came out around 2001, I believe, is when they ended support for this. Once you do have it on the internet up and running, let me get back to where I was, and if I can find the program. This is the annoying thing about Windows 3.1. Unless you're familiar with where every icon is, you do have to hunt a little bit. And there's ways to fix that. I could have definitely organized this better. But I spent enough time getting it ready. I've been doing this for like 3 weeks, so a little bit of free time here and there getting it all up and running. So I do have an FTP client on the system here. I have an FTP server running on my laptop, which is currently off right now, so it's not going to connect. But this is an easy way to get files that are too large for floppy, or if you don't want to burn a whole CD and insert it there. This is a great way to get the stuff over on your system without having to go through all the disks. It is as fast as this thing will go, which takes a little bit of time if it's a large file. The full size, though, that you have on your partition is only 2 gigs, so you can't really fill this thing up with everything you'd ever want. So it is 2 gig, but for everything that you would need on a system this old, 2 gig is plenty. So let's get out of the FTP and take a look at some other things. I do have McAfee virus scan on here. It's way out of date, but if you do happen to pick up like an old Michelangelo virus or something like that that would actually affect this thing, it would hopefully catch it. So, you do have some basic protections. Most of the viruses that are out there today wouldn't even look at this thing, nor could they run. Everything that runs on here has to be a 16-bit package. Anything 32-bit, 64-bit software just is not going to run. And any modern virus today wouldn't even know what to do once it's on here. So if you did happen to get into an old virus, at least you're somewhat protected. The other thing that would definitely be an issue is if you do keep it online a long time, and for whatever reason your firewall or your router wasn't protecting your network, then you could possibly get sniffed out and somebody could do malicious things. But you're also talking a ridiculous, like, needle in a haystack scenario where there's a hacker out there looking for Windows 3.1.1 systems. So, that's also fairly unlikely. Let's see, on top of that, I also have Opera on here, Opera browser. And it's good to have a couple different browsers on here so that you can figure out some websites work better than others, especially back then. A lot of these systems, a lot of these websites back in the day, you would see, this website was designed for IE4 or, Netscape Navigator, and they really were fine-tuned to different browsers because there wasn't as big a standard as there is today on, the internet. So let's close that. Another thing I got here is America Online. So you're not doing anything more than this of just opening it, and that's about it. There's not much you can do on here, but I did have to get it for this. And that's about as far as you're going to get, because the only way I could get that to dial out and connect to anything was by connecting it to a Juno account. And believe it or not, that still exists, Juno, but it's not going to actually connect. So let's get out of that. So now that we got the little bit of nostalgia out of the way, another useful program to have on here is WinZip 6.3. I believe that's the last WinZip that was 16-bit that would run on Windows. Obviously, everything I'm doing is on trial because I didn't feel like cracking it or finding a way to pay for 35, 40-year-old WinZip. So but, 30-year-old WinZip. But it does work fine for what you need it to. Basically, if you have some zipped files from programs that you're downloading, I did notice if you try to zip something new on like a Windows 11 machine, it's not going to unzip properly on here, unfortunately. They've changed compression, or they've changed a lot in 30 years, I'm sure. But a lot of the stuff that you're downloading for these old systems is zipped in the proper format, so that is definitely something that you'd want to have. I also have Microsoft Bob on here, which in itself is kind of ridiculous. It's not very useful. It would be okay for maybe kids, but this is kind of ridiculous. And let's get into it here, just so you can see what the desktop looks like. It's all very cartoonish. Obviously, you can see I'm filming this on August 24th. If I have it my way, I'll have it edited and online tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, this whole thing is very unintuitive. Like, you really do need to take the tour to find out where everything is, because you would think if you clicked on the computer, it would bring up your, file explorer or something like that. It doesn't. It brings up a game. You have a little floppy disk here where if you click on that, I need to click on the button first, so let's ignore that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that you can click on and it doesn't do anything. It just says encyclopedia. Note, this is a decorative object, so anything that you click on doesn't really do much. Now, there was programs you could add onto this, like Microsoft greeting card creator software. So if you wanted to make a greeting card on old cardstock, if you could find it, you could do that. Now, this whole thing isn't really all that great. It's another reason why most people, when you mention Microsoft Bob, will either chuckle and go, yeah, that was silly, or they would be like, what? Like, never heard of that. And there's a good reason he never heard of it. It wasn't that great. Maybe for kids, the Packard Bell Navigator was more common back then because it just came pre-installed on a lot of Packard Bell systems. Look, I can't even exit quickly. So you have to click and click and click, and it's very annoying to get out of. And slow to get out of. Like, I don't need to see the dog walk away when I click exit. I just want it to exit. I'm sure the team that worked on that, they were proud of it because that was their baby and they wanted to make it animated and very cool in a time when there were very few, animations on computers. They were just starting to get enough video power and processing power to do that type of stuff. So you could see why they're kind of using it for silly stuff like that. The other thing I've got on here, games, I got Ski Free. That's something I had to add on here. This is absolutely a time sucker right here. If you need to disappear into your own world and just dodge trees and eventually the abominable snowman and do flips on your skis, crash into the snow, this is the game for you. It's better than Solitaire, I'll say that. That's my personal opinion. Better than Solitaire, better than Minesweeper. Nobody plays Hearts, I don't know. But yeah, out of those games, Ski Free is the best one, in my opinion. The other few things on here, I've got Microsoft Money. So now you might say there's not much you can do in a computer this old. You can manage your books. It's, money hasn't changed much over the years. If you wanted to just basically tally your checkbook, you could do it on here. The other thing is, if you wanted to pay your bills on this thing, you're not paying your bills online, you're printing checks. So that is another thing you could do with this thing, is get the template for the checkbook, print your checks, and that would work. Stuff like that is definitely useful. As far as running an airline, I wouldn't recommend it. Basic home use stuff where you can manage your checkbook, play some fun games, type up a letter, stuff like that. Windows 3.1 still works great. If you have an older computer like this and you want it to do something other than collect dust and look pretty in the corner, play around with Windows, put that on there, and you'll kind of have some fun. You'll kind of want to tear your hair out. There's a reason it's been almost a month since my last video, and it was because I was working on this. Real productive use of time, I'm sure, but it's a passion. It's something that is fun to do. There is much more you can do with these things now. If you go to oldversion.net, or there's a lot of different websites out there where you can get abandonware, software that used to cost hundreds of dollars and is pretty much just out there for free because the owners aren't going to bother litigating or telling you to take it down. And not that many people would be using it, but there's a lot of productivity software out there that you can use on an old system like this that is quite useful. Like I said before, the 3D modeling floor plan, and I didn't show it in here, but you can actually view your model in 3D after it's done. This is very useful. So if you want to build a shed, if you want to build, even a house, but if you're going that far, spend the real money and get. But maybe you're doing it yourself. But if you need drawings or blueprints for a building, an addition, anything like that, a tree house, whatever you want to build, that's pretty cool software. I really could actually use this. My eventual plan would be to build a detached, one of those like mini houses, or just an office shed outside in my backyard, and that's where I would film all this. That would be really cool, and I think I would actually use this software. It would be fitting to where if I was building a mini studio office out in my backyard, I would have to design it with 35-year-old software. That's the only way to do it. That makes the most sense. So this is just a brief video. I hope you guys like it. I put a lot more time than I should have into it. There's so much more I could show you. It's just that, I don't know where to draw the line. I spent way too much time figuring out what to put in this, and there's so much out there that is a personal use case scenario. I wouldn't recommend doing this and ditching your brand new computer. We still need, new computers, especially to view my videos on YouTube. But if you do have an old system like this and you want to use it, by all means, fix it up. Make sure the capacitors are cleaned up and repaired if need be. If you smell anything fishy coming out of the back, you might need to get some work done on there. But if it's a working system and it's absolutely capable of doing this stuff, use it. Have fun with it. I hope you liked the video. If you do, subscribe. I have more content coming. A little bit quicker this time around. Summer is finally almost over, and I will have more free time to myself to do my hobby and send you guys out videos. Thank you very much. I hope you guys liked it. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. I am almost at 1,000 subscribers. At the moment, I'm like close to 850. Whatever it is right now, it's close to 850. And it's going up. I'm very happy with this. Tell me if you think I should do a giveaway. I don't know. I've got so much stuff I could give away. And it would make my wife happier. But let me know what you guys think. A good way to celebrate getting to 1,000 subs fairly soon, I hope. So let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, comment down below. It really helps the algorithms. And hope you like it. Take care. Bye.